Welcome to this unconventional yet innovative meeting. This meeting is about 2020 revised curriculum and assessment plans for grade 7, term 2 to term 4, 2020. The GDE vision: every learner feels valued and inspired in our innovative education system. The mission: we are committed to provide functional and modern schools that enable quality teaching and learning, to protect and promote the right of every learner to quality, equitable, and relevant education. GDE Step Up 2020. Let's look at the GET hashtag. It is hashtag 1/85/55, which means as the Gauteng province, we're striving to be position 1, and 85% of our learners have to pass at the end of the year at an average of 55. Remember, our hashtag as the district is hashtag 1/90/55. The presentation outline for this meeting is as follows. Number 1, we're going to be looking at the background. Why are we having this meeting in the manner in which we're having it? What is the purpose of the meeting? And then number 3, amendments to the content overview for the phase. In this regard, we're going to be looking at only grade 7. Number 4, we're going to be looking at the amendments that have been done to our annual teaching plan. And then number 5, we're looking at the amendments that have affected our school-based assessment. Number 6, we're going to be looking at grade 7 curriculum support packages. Number 7, it will be announcements. And number 8, it will be conclusion. Let's look at the background. The COVID-19 disruption has led to a national shutdown. Much as there were attempts to offer education using online tools, there was a great deal of classroom instructional time that was lost. Thus, there were key questions that were to be considered. These are the questions that were considered. A, what is the extent of the time loss and the curriculum content that could not be covered? B, what are the implications of the lost time for teaching and learning, curriculum, assessment, and the educational outcomes? C, how can the time lost be recovered, or can the curriculum be reviewed to ensure that the essence of the curriculum is completed in the remaining time available? Now let's look at the purpose for this session. It is to mediate the amendments of the trimmed and reorganized 2020 ATPs, including the amended SBAs for grade 7. In this regard, grade 7 file for implementation in June 2020, as stipulated in Circular S2 of 2020. The purpose is also to ensure that there is meaningful teaching that will be taking place during the remaining teaching time as per the revised school calendar that we are awaiting. We want to also assist teachers with guided pacing and sequencing of curriculum content and assessment, and also to enable teachers to cover the essential core content or skills in each grade within the available time. Also want to assist educators with planning for the different forms of assessment. And lastly, it will be to ensure that learners are adequately prepared for the subsequent years in terms of content, in terms of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. Now, what are the amendments to the content overview for English File Grade 7? Let's look at the amendments that were made. There are activities that were removed, like dialogue, group discussion, forum discussion, a role play, dramatization, and interview. So it means that the listening and speaking skill has to suffer a great deal here. These activities were not only removed in Term 2, they were removed across the terms and across all grades. It is because of the restrictions that were put in place because of COVID-19. In this regard, these activities, they infringe with social distancing. We won't be having June exams. The June exams have been removed. The oral task that has to be written during the June exams will only be written during the term. Paper 2, the reading comprehension, and paper 3, the writing task, will be written during normal school teaching time. Let's remind ourselves. Paper 2, colleagues, it is the task that would have expected us to be setting a reading comprehension, which is question 1, visual lit, which is question 1.1, summary, which is question 2, language structures and conventions, question 3. Now the question is, if this activity is going to be written under normal conditions, how is it going to be administered? Educators will have to split this activity. A reading comprehension will be written on a separate date, visual lit on a separate date, summary on a separate date, and language structures and conventions on a separate date. The same is going to apply to paper 3, which is also going to be written during normal school teaching time. This means that we won't be having common papers. Schools are setting their own tests and they are going to be writing them as per instruction, as per guidance that we've just given. And then what is going to happen then in Term 3? Remember this year we had introduced a project that was going to be our major task in Term 3. That creative writing project has been removed, including the oral presentation that was based on the project. It has been removed. What is going to happen is we are going to continue with the oral task that will either be a listening comprehension, a prepared or an unprepared speech. The literature test that we always write will be done during normal school time. And then in Term 4, this is what is going to happen. What has been removed is the informal class and group discussion used in examination preparation. It is not going to be there. The oral task will be done during the term. Writing of essay and transactional text will be done during normal school teaching time. That is what used to be our paper 3. So we are going to split it as we have explained before. What is going to be written under exam conditions will only be our paper 2, which is going to be our reading comprehension, our visual lit, our summary, and our language structures and conventions, which are going to be done in context. I'm sure that is very clear, colleagues. Let's summarize what we've just discussed. The reorganization of content topics, the listening and speaking skill. The oral activities that compromise social distancing have been removed. Oral activities that involve speaking in pairs and group discussion have been removed. And then oral activities such as prepared and unprepared reading have been reconfigured to comply with COVID-19 measures. For reading and viewing skill, the Term 3 project on creative writing has been removed as it needs lots of preparation and teaching time. Then for language structures and conventions, they are not affected whatsoever. What we need to be reminded of is that they are still taught in context. They are not taught in isolation. Educators are not expected to cover all the language structures and convention concepts within a given cycle. They must just remember that whenever they are teaching listening and speaking, reading and viewing, and writing and presenting, they incorporate the language structures and conventions as they go. In as far as the amendment to the weighting of content topics, let us be reminded that for the listening and speaking skill, it has been noted that it has been highly compromised. However, the weighting on term 1 is not affected whatsoever. It is only the weightings on terms 2 to 4 that are heavily affected. It will mainly focus on listening comprehension, unprepared reading, and prepared reading, unprepared and prepared speech, the teacher-led discussions or conversation. When it comes to the weighting on writing and presenting, it is lightly affected, as we have discussed. The only task that has been removed, it is that creative writing project that is part of the formal assessment task in term 3. For reading and viewing and language structures and conventions, they both retain their weightings with some slight shift in focus. Colleagues, I'm sure you're going to see this as lots of repetition, but I think we really need to reiterate, the differences so that whenever we go back to our classes, we are sure of what is expected of us. We said, in terms of content or topics that have been amended, for listening and speaking, for term 2 to term 4, we need to disregard all the activities that do not adhere to COVID-19 measures of social distancing. These are the ones that are enlisted here. We are not going to be doing these activities as specified. And then when it comes to writing and presenting, for term 3, we are not doing that creative writing project. And the reason is, it is going to be time consuming. We do not have time to ensure that we master that project. Remember, we were supposed to start by training first. We are going to start by having a workshop on how to go about doing this project. So let's ensure that we disregard it. We are not doing it this year. In as far as the amendments to our school-based assessments are as follows. We're done with the tasks, task 1 to task 5, they have been completed. Term 2, we're doing an oral activity, listening comprehension or prepared or unprepared speech. Task 7, it is writing an essay and a transactional text. Mark allocation still the same. 30 marks for a narrative for an essay and 10 marks for a transactional text. Task number 8, colleagues. Once again, comprehension and language. We had to split this as explained. It is question 1 for a reading comprehension, question 1.1 for visual literacy, question 2, a summary, question 3, language structures and conventions in context. For term 3, grade 7, task number 9, it's a oral listening comprehension or prepared reading. If you've done a listening comprehension in task number 6, it means for task number 1, you're going to do prepared reading, not another listening comprehension. Task number 10, it is a literature test that we are used to. And then in term 4, these are the changes we said. Task number 11 is not going to be administered under exam conditions. Task number 12 is not going to be administered under exam conditions. They are going to be written during normal class times. And then task number 13 will be the only one that is written under strict exam conditions. Once again, the format is the same. Question 1, question 2, and question 3. Here is an exciting slide. The curriculum packages. Educators will be getting the adjusted ATPs for all grades. I'm sure you have received yours already. And this is going to be for all subjects. For now, we've received for grade 7. We are getting them progressively. This is based on the circular S2, which indicates when the documents for each grade is going to be released. For now, educators are going to be getting the exemplar worksheets that are based on key content. These are provincially designed. The exemplar PowerPoint presentations based on key content, also provincially designed. Exemplar lesson plans to assist teachers with the adaptation of teaching methodologies, also from our province. And then there's also cross-referencing of free online activities. Exemplar standardized assessment tasks from province too. It will be expected that we enhance our PLC meetings as much as possible because there's lots of content that will need to be mediated. So whatever platforms that we can get, colleagues, including our WhatsApp groups, let's utilize them to the best of our abilities. But we will ensure that we communicate and let us not keep quiet should we get stuck when we want to exercise or want to implement or want to, give our learners one of the activities that we have provided. But also remember, these are just exemplar worksheets that you are going to be getting. Look at the folders that are in there. It is a lot. It will be expected that schools, as per instruction from the district, bring to the district perhaps a hard drive so that all this information can be uploaded. Remember, it will not only be English file. How about other subjects? This continues. It is a lot. So let us ensure that whoever comes to the office for these packages, they come ready. For now, colleagues, we were told that we will be informed by Friday, which is today, as to when the packages will be made available. And whenever they are made available, I will definitely communicate. Look at the template of the lesson plan on your left. And then on your right, it is just a cover or an indication that we are getting those PowerPoint presentations. Somewhere in that slide, there is a darker area there. This is where we will be able to click to access the online activities that we have indicated. Right. Here's the release schedule as per the DBE Circular S2 of 2020. The release of documents progressively as was indicated prior. For grade 7, in our case, we received our documents on the 25th of May. Thus, we're having our mediation today. Look at the other grades as to when they are going to be released, and then plan accordingly. Conclusion, colleagues. The grade 7s, according to the proposed calendar, will have 39 days in term 2, 37 in term 3, and 38 in term 4. Then the removal of concepts is mindful of the critical and foundational role that languages play in other content subjects. Unfortunately, language concepts are repetitive in nature. They are repeated across the terms, the grades, and the phases. So it means that if we adhere to our notional time, and we are making it a point that follow the amended ATP, we are sure to cover all the skills that will make our learners to survive in other subjects too. And the approach we're using is the progressive and the scaffolded approach. Colleagues, since what we are getting is news also to us, let's also be considerate when it comes to our learners. Let's not only give our learners activities and expect them to master them. They will need to be scaffolded a great deal. Let's ensure that we assist them. It may be on temporary basis, and then that will definitely allow them to at least exercise their knowledge after they have been shown how to do something. And then they will be able then to respond accordingly when they are being assessed, either formally or informally. And that is not going to be just a temporary response. They are going to grow knowing that should they be assisted, at least they are bound to learn something from the assistance that they are getting from the educators. When it comes to announcements, the announcements here that are not relevant to us, but what is important here, colleagues, is that let us ensure that we observe the rules and regulations based on social distancing. In our case, it has been indicated what is it that has been compromised, and we are going to adhere to that as much as we can. And as far as the curriculum support packages are concerned, we have indicated that it is advisable that we prepare, or our schools prepare, the hard drives that will be brought to the district office, or whatever means that are going to be communicated to schools, so that this information is received as quickly as possible. And remember, these support packages are just exemplars. They are not prescriptive. That is why they are from our province. They are from Gauteng province. Let's just ensure that we understand that fact, that they are exemplars. Thank you very much, colleagues.